time frame, as best as they can figure it out, that the Earth underwent a big catastrophe, whether it was a meteor or volcanoes blowing the place to shreds. It caused continents to shift. It caused massive floods. It caused complete destruction, and who knows what might have been lost. There might have been another continent, the island of Atlantis, and it may be sunken now. We don't know. But even in South America, they have a flood mythology. The Chinese and the Japanese have a flood mythology. American Indians that didn't live in the inner plains but lived near the coasts.
Yeah, but what
they
flooded
have a flood
it?
mythology.
What flooded it? I don't understand. It was like Ice Age or some shit?
No, I told you. Everybody was living their lives and going along just fine, and then out of the blue. Okay, have you ever heard of the movie Krakatoa East of Java?
No.
Okay, this is a very popular movie in the late 60s, early 70s. And it's based on a true story. There was an island called Krakatoa that had an active volcano on it. When Krakatoa blew, it caused such a major shift. It spewed so much crap into the atmosphere.
Where was it?
Pardon?
Where was it?
Krakatoa, I believe it was in the Indian Ocean.
It was, what's that one? Yellowstone? It was like Yellowstone or something? Yellowstone is in like Arizona or something?
I believe it's out in Arizona or Wyoming. Yellowstone. Okay, Krakatoa was in Indonesia. You know where Indonesia is? The island of Bali.
There. That's in the east, right?
It's like, okay, you know where Australia is?
I don't know.
You know where the island of Bali is and Java? Those are near the Indian Ocean.
Okay.
The temperature is very hot, and you know there are these islands, Krakatoa.
Look at this guy.
Yep.
Jesus.
In 1883, it erupted, causing massive tsunamis. A new island emerged in 1927 and has been erupting frequently. Sunda Strait between the Indonesian islands of Java and Sumatra. That's where Krakatoa is. It's situated on the convergence of the Indian, Australian, and Eurasian tectonic plates, which is a zone of high volcanic activity. It's one of the most powerful volcanic events in recorded history, with the explosions heard thousands of miles away. It not only generated immense tsunamis, but it spewed so much junk into the air, it created a problem all over the planet with like a very, very cold bunch of winters because the sun could not get through the volcanic ash. Crops failed. It caused like massive death and destruction. And this was in 1883. Okay, and it actually happened. So when you talk about how all these different peoples all over the world in all these different areas have this major flood mythology, this was before recorded history. So if you go back even further, why did the dinosaurs die out? Again, they believe a comet or a meteor hit the earth and killed everything. So they pretty much come to the conclusion that way, way, way back, thousands and thousands and thousands of years ago, something happened. Either volcanic activity or a meteor hit the earth and generated massive flooding like if it had hit close to America, or maybe it did, and we just don't know about it because it wiped everybody out, the water would have reached far, far in, like Washington, D.C. would be underwater. Everything would be underwater except for like maybe some of the plains states. But all the coastal places, California, New York, New Jersey, Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, Florida, all got wiped out. In South America, Mexico, a whole continent, in Australia, all these ancient peoples have flood mythologies. It's based on a true happening. But it was before anyone could, or if anyone at that time did have a recorded history, they were completely wiped out. And that's why we have no factual account of it. The first person to come up with Atlantis was one of the Greek, which one was it? One of the Greek wise men told this story of Atlantis, where the island was wiped out, and in one day it sunk underneath. It didn't gradually sink beneath the waves. In one day, something happened, and in one day it was gone. And a bunch of people, the myth says 12 people survived, and they became the gods, okay? But that was the advanced civilization that had electronics, that had this, that had that had, what, very, very advanced. And some people believe that they were people from another planet who crash landed here and got stuck here. And so they built a life here. There was either a war in outer space between a couple of planets, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But that's where they came from. And when the island sunk, the few that escaped, because it happened so fast, the few that escaped became teachers and then were transformed by different groups of people into gods. You also have the volcano that they uncovered in modern times, more or less, that in one day completely destroyed everything. Which volcano was that? Can't remember the name. God, I'm having senior moments left and right.
Yeah, I mean, they said there's people that live like kind of like on the underneath ground and shit. Underneath, they call like inner earth or some shit.
Vesuvius. Okay, you've heard of Vesuvius, right?
Yeah, that's a volcano.
When Vesuvius blew, it happened so fast that people couldn't escape. And it destroyed Pompeii.
Well, what they say is that this they said that volcanoes is really just dragons.
Yeah, okay, I know that is true.
They said volcano, and they look it up on the maps, and you can see it looks like. But they say basically like a volcano is like dead dragons, and then yeah, and then.
Well, there's an old movie. Well, it's not that old. There's a movie called Reign of Fire, and in that movie, they're excavating in London to extend the subway system, and they uncover a dragon. And they come out and immediately decimate the world. But they die out. And the theory is that over time, dragons have cycles. And, you know, that's why dragons have been in history as mythological creatures forever, because of the way they're built so that they can breathe fire and fly. Their bones are hollow, so when they die, they don't really leave. They're not like other archaeological artifacts. They melt into the earth. So we've never found any evidence of dragons because it disappears. But they did exist. Some people believe they did exist, and some people believe they can hibernate for 1,000,000 years if they want to. And they are right now somewhere underground, trapped somewhere, and that under the right circumstances, they could get out and destroy most of civilization. If you saw this movie, Reign of Fire, it's a good movie. It really is. You'd have to see it. I saw it when it came out. I remember what year it came out. It was probably in the 80s. Was that with Jim? I don't think so. It was pre-Jim.
Yeah, so they saying like this comet or meteorite, whatever the fuck it is, this Atlas shit, is basically they saying that it's the Anunnaki, which is the Anunnaki is the race of whatever entities that actually created humanity, like human beings and shit. And they're saying that I think, and they said in the next couple months, the meteorite is supposed to, it's an interstellar whatever meteorite or whatever.
Have you ever heard the myth of Wormwood?
I don't know. It's like, is that a black hole or some shit?
It's a star or a comet, and it shows up, you know, once every 1,000,000 years or whatever, and it's supposed to presage the end times. And the comet is a very unusual one. And when it shows up in our sky, as it gets closer to Earth, it affects people in weird ways because of the different ultraviolet light emanating from it and other particles that come off it and get filtered into the Earth's atmosphere. And it's called wormwood because wormwood is supposed to be, you know, bitter. And when it shows up again, that's supposed to herald the end times. Okay, now you're in deep shit, and everything's gonna go completely haywire when wormwood shows up again. So there's that prophecy myth. I mean, there are the alternate Earth mythologies, and there are the parallel universe mythologies. There's also the belief that for every choice we make, a reality branches off.
Yeah. But they saying that if you look at that map, they said Mars is right next to us. So when they talk about going to Mars, it's not even that fucking serious. It's right there. Like the whole Mars dome is right next to fucking Earth.
Yeah.
Like,
and there's also a book called River World that would fall into that sort of a category. But I haven't read it, but what I just saw on the internet, the map and the domed worlds, and they're all around each other. Yeah, they're right next door. But because they're in an alternate reality, the trip from here to there can be very traumatic to the mind and body, because to pass those barriers requires a lot of energy, and that's just what I picked up from the brief reading I just did. But it is interesting, and Apparently, there are 3 books written about it. It's a trilogy. I'd love to get a hold of them. I need a library card. I have never been this long without a damn library card. I mean, when Jim and I lived at the Glens, the first thing he did was get me a library card because he knew how I am. Jim used to say, Valerie doesn't read books. She eats them like candy. We had a rough year, and just to make ends meet, Jim said, well, we're going to have to give up TV for a month. Cannot do it this month. I was like, okay. I was reading a stack of books this high a week. Literally, I would read like a book a day, sometimes 2. I read so many books that month. I think Jim read maybe 3. And my stack was like, because he listened to the radio more. I remember one night they had this program going with all this music from the 60s. Oh, God, it was great. We just laid around the house listening to all this really good music we hadn't heard. And so to the Lord, and I Can't Quit Her, and all this. You know, that's when music was actually really good, you know? Like when Jim and I were teenagers and in our early 20s, hell, when we were teenagers, nobody could wait for the next Beatles album to come out. You know? It was like worldwide, everybody was waiting for this album to come out. Because it was going to be fucking spectacular, and you knew it was going to be insane. And it comes out, and everybody bought it. Everybody's got it. I mean, there are lines at the record store. They had record stores back then. There was a place called Harmony Hut in the Waldorf Mall. And, you know, there was no electronics. There was no internet. You know, you bought a piece of vinyl. Your DJs didn't go by a list. They played wherever the fuck they wanted. So when a new album was very highly anticipated, the day it came out, you knew Vince Skelson was going to play the entire album that night. He would play the one side, take a break, have a little bit of a discussion about it, and then play the other side. You've heard of The Who? Mm-hmm. Okay. When The Who came out with the Tommy album, oh my God. It was like the first rock opera. It was a big deal. I got it for my birthday. I had that. And yeah, FM radio played it. FM radio used to be like completely freeform. The DJs just came in. They all knew everything about music. They were totally into music. And they just played whatever crossed their minds. And they had these really unique DJs. Like this one guy, he would always start his show with The Court of the Crimson King by a band called King Crimson. There was another guy who always ended his show with a clip from The Wizard of Oz. It's the very last piece of The Wizard of Oz where Judy Garland says, "Oh, Auntie M, there's no place like home," and then the music swells. That's how he ended his show every night. There was another guy who started his show out with Moody Blues. The Lost Lament. It's really neat. It's got this, like, I can only describe it as twinkling stars kind of music. And it kind of goes beep, 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 beep. And then the guide says, "Breathe deep, the gathering gloom. Watch lights fade from every room." And it's like a spoken poem that was in between 2 songs. Breathe deep, the gathering gloom. Watch lights fade from every room. Bedsetter people sit and lament. Another day's useless energy spent. passion lovers wrestle as one. Lonely man cries for love.